Welcome to the Less Doing podcast, where you will learn how to start living more by doing less.
Let me help you optimize, automate, and outsource your entire life so you can focus on doing the things you love.
Now here's your host, Ari Meisel.
Welcome back to the Less Doing podcast. I'm your host, Ari Meisel, and today's guest is, I'm trying to think of the right way to frame this because everything that we do here is less doing, but I have the pleasure of having the author of Do Nothing on the podcast. So Rob Dube, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Ari. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I feel like I'm a brown belt and I've got the black belt here talking to me because the do nothing guy. So let's talk about what don't you do, Rob?
What don't I do? That's actually, I've never been asked that question. It's it's very thought provoking actually. But I am trying to learn what not to do with less doing, quite frankly, and which is how I got to know you and all the amazing things that you are doing. So, but to give you a little bit of a background, I'm an entrepreneur. I started my company in 1991, right out of college with my best friend. So we've been in business now. This is our 27th year. Along the way, I had a whole lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, some health issues that I was dealing with when I was younger, some family issues, and that didn't translate great starting a business with my best friend. I got married at a young age. My wife and I had our first child when I was young, and so when we put that all together, it was just adding on to my anxiety, and tried some different things along the way. Went to therapy, which was very helpful, but ultimately learned about meditation about 13 years ago, just coming off the heels of selling my business. And I kind of hit a breaking point, and I sat in a chair when I was on vacation and started breathing in and breathing out and testing this thing out, and found it to be very useful. And here we are 13 years later. I found it to be so helpful, not only in my life in general, but as a leader within my organization. We were able to buy our company back, and I feel that my meditation practice has been very useful to me as a leader and really cultivating our culture here at Image One.
And what is Image One?
Image One is a document lifecycle management company. And so what we do is we manage all the multifunction printers, copiers within medium to enterprise size organizations. And we also provide software solutions that help these companies learn how to print smarter and learn how to print less. Obviously, there's a huge cost savings when they're printing less. And so that's a big thing that we bring to the table for these organizations.
Now, how does this translate into your leadership with your team? And what does that look like sort of on a day-to-day basis now?
Sure. It's cultivating presence and awareness first and foremost. So oftentimes, and I'll speak for the many entrepreneurs and business leaders that I've had interactions with over the last 27 years, and there's a pretty consistent theme that I see, which is a lot of extremely busy people, especially ramped up over the last 10, 15 years with technology. Email is overwhelming. Our calendars are jam-packed, from morning to night. And so what ends up happening is when we are with our team members, oftentimes our minds are in different places, and oftentimes our minds are racing. And our ability to sort of slow down and be truly present with our team members is the difference maker. Obviously, when we're there meeting with them, there may be challenges that they're dealing with, and they need our feedback on. And I think many leadership people are in a mode where they want to solve things for their team very quickly, just to use that as an example. And our ability to listen, very deeply listen, ask really good questions, be truly present, phones away, no buzzing, not thinking about the next meeting that we're going to or the last meeting we came from, and help our team members kind of work through their challenge, their issue, because the answers are right there. They have them. We know that. And that's the true gift that we could give to them. The presence, the awareness, and helping them to figure out how to solve it on their own. Ultimately, down the line, that leads to a better situation for them. It leads to a better company, greater skill set within your company, better people. And so there's positives all around. It just takes practice.
So it just takes practice, right? But now, obviously, in most companies, at least, we want to see growth and people being hard charging to some extent, right? And like being aggressive is not the right word. Being driven, right? So how do you sort of balance that for people? Is there that issue, like somebody feels like their coworkers meditating too much and they're not,
That's a great question. I love that. Actually, we have a saying, which is, in order to speed up, you have to slow down.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so what does that mean?
Well, it means when you're becoming overwhelmed with the thousands of things coming at you. At our organization, it's perfectly okay to slow down and go find a spot and sort of just sit and breathe in and breathe out. It doesn't need to be a whole day session. Literally can be 3 to 5 minutes. Oftentimes that's enough just to get clarity of mind, kind of slow down the thought pattern and return back to, the day-to-day of whatever it is that you're doing.
Does that show up in the environment that you create, like the physical environment that you create? Like, so some companies who have like nap rooms or nap chairs or things like that. I mean, do you create space for people to do that?
Well, we have a multitude of conference rooms that are functional in many ways. There's comfortable chairs and there's I guess more, you wouldn't consider a place you'd have a nap per se, but they're just your typical office chairs. But, the way we look at it is it doesn't need to be the perfect spot, the perfect place with the perfect noise reduction or whatnot, because life just happens around us. And the greatest thing that we can do is find the ability to find that calm, to find that presence, to find, a place to slow down no matter where we are. Oftentimes in my travels and my education on meditation throughout the past 13 years, I hear the experts talk about being able to practice on the subway in New York City or on the plane, going from point A to point B. So, we don't need to have this perfect meditative room that people can go to. They could do it at their desk, quite frankly, if that's what is needed. So
what's the challenge in your business right now, sort of in general, forgetting this aspect of it for a moment, as an aware and balanced, hopefully, and cognizant organization, like what is the challenge that you face now in your growth?
Well, right now the job market, hiring is very difficult right now. We've got 65 team members and we have 5 openings. There's stress on the system, so to speak, stress on the people, because we need people in the company who are up to speed as quickly as possible. And it's taking an awful long time to find the type of people that work for that would fit within our organization. So, how do we deal with the day-to-day stresses and all the things that we're being asked to get done without a full staff? And that takes a calmness, that takes a presence, that actually takes some slowing down. It takes a lot of collaboration, a lot of communication to come together and know that at the end of the day, we take very seriously what we do, but we aren't solving the world's problems, and we're very aware of that. So we need to show up, but adding stress within ourselves isn't going to help it. So what are some of the things that we can do to take that stress reduce it or take it away, altogether, but still show up. And one way really is to just slow down for a minute or two or five throughout the day and just breathe in and breathe out and kind of find a place of calm and then return back. It's rejuvenating, actually.
How do you present this when you're hiring people so that they sort of get indoctrinated into the culture properly?
It's another good question. Well, first, let me just state that, everybody in our company isn't walking around or sitting around meditating, I should say. For some people, they have other ways that they go about stress reduction. Or the bottom line here at Image One is what works for you. We just try to give you education and tools that might be helpful. Other people might want to go for a walk. They might just want to go leave the office for 20 minutes and just kind of unwind. And, there's a multitude of things that people could do to kind of find a place of calm and be able to come back re-energized. As far as people coming into the company, we really look for them to uncover whatever they want to uncover about our company. We have our core values, which are clearly stated, and we discuss during our process with candidates. We're humbled that they're in front of us, and so we have a huge curiosity about them. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we want to be a lifter upper, not a dragger downer in their lives. So that's really what we're talking about: is how can we cultivate a life balance for them that works? And that doesn't mean that they have to take out a meditation practice whatsoever.
When does that sort of reach a limit, though, right? Where somebody who's in the organization and you realize that they aren't a good fit at that point, and it's not a matter of just sort of taking more time or reflecting on it in a different way. How do you handle offboarding?
Yeah, well, our goal in being a lifter upper is that sometimes we realize it's either one side, meaning the team member, or it's the company, or it's both, who kind of have a sense that something isn't really working right. And so, of course, our goal being a lifter upper is how can we make it right? Let's put some sort of plan in place. Let's look again at your life goals, and is there alignment here? Let's look at your personal core values. Let's look at some of the stress points that you're dealing with here, whether it be with people, whether it be the work environment, or maybe something that might be going on at home, or whatever it might be. And let's try to figure out how we can come to the same place, because something brought us together. And if that's not working, to answer your question about offboarding, is how can we smoothly transition the person to a new journey and the new part to their journey. And we've done that very successfully. It's something and we are very proud of here at Image One. One example I can share with you is we had a person in a role and they took on a leadership role. And it became really apparent that the activities that they were focused on weren't leadership focused activities. They were more tactical type responsibilities that they kept leaning towards. And so we had a discussion. I actually met this person off-site at a coffee shop. And as we dug deeper into her life goals, it became very apparent and emotional for her to, share with me that really a leadership role wasn't something that she wanted to do. In fact, she wanted to do something that was completely different and very tactical in nature. And it wasn't something that, we had, a need for here. And so what we did was we put into place a plan to help her find where that might be. And funny enough, she loved science and she loved design. And once you know it, the stars lined up, and she ended up working at the Science Center here in the Detroit area and doing design for them. It was crazy. So those are the sorts of things that we hope to, help people when things aren't working out, land on their feet, because it isn't always that the people are bad people. In fact, they usually aren't. It's just there isn't something that's connecting. And I think through having the open and honest discussion, being vulnerable and transparent with each other about what's not working, you start to come to the right place together.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I like to say is that the way that we treat the people that we send off, it says a lot to the people that we keep with us.
That's so true. Yeah, you're right on point with that. And it's a human experience, and it should be.
Yes, absolutely, of course. So, all right. So you said sort of switching gears back again for a second. So you said that recruiting and sort of finding talented people is challenging. But so what kinds of jobs are you trying to fill right now that you're finding it hard to find? I think that's very enlightening for people to hear that kind of information.
Yeah, we have some customer care positions that are open. We have some technical positions are open, and we have some sales positions that are open. So those are the areas that we're challenged with right now. And certainly trying to find people that align with our core values, but also are high performing people by nature, learners, and people that can help rise us up, bring us to new levels, is really what we're focused on.
And you're just not getting like applicants, or you're finding people who are just not qualified?
Well, we are receiving applicants. Unfortunately, the fits aren't there, and so what that tells us and what we're hearing is that the really solid people are very much ingrained within the companies and jobs that they have. So we're doing our best effort to sign. Really, quite frankly, trying to get them, try to get their eyeballs on us, and maybe come out and see what we're all about. Because who knows? Maybe sometimes what they believe to be a good situation may not be ultimately as good as it could be. And so we are excited to maybe give people a look at what we're doing and see if it resonates with them.
And then what about for you? What's sort of the next growth for you?
Sure. I mean, always growing, learning about what you're up to, and trying to be, more efficient with everything that I'm working on. Do Nothing, the book, getting out into the world has been a very humbling experience, and it's opened up a whole bunch of different doors and conversations for speaking, and so that's been a very exciting thing for me to be able to share this life tool that I'm so passionate about. I'm hosting a retreat in 2 weeks, April 23rd to the 26th. It's a silent retreat for leaders. We've got one spot left, and it's going to be 4 days of no talking, which is pretty daunting for many. This is where I start to see the eyes glaze over for so many. But there are, so far 19 people that are very interested in how they can go inside and really work harder at cultivating presence, awareness, finding a calm space within themselves so they can bring that out to the world, both for their teams and in their lives in general. So those are some of the things that I'm working on, working with YPO groups, doing some workshops. And so it's just all been very exciting.
Well, so let's talk about that for a second. So first of all, does that make it really easy to plan content for something like that? Does right. They're silent, but are they being guided at all, or is it just you talk for a little bit and then it's silent for the rest of the time?
Yeah, as far as the retreat goes, or the workshops.
Yeah. The retreat. Well, either.
Yeah. So there's some talks. So there's some things to think about, and so there are moments of silence, but then there's moments of interaction. Yes. So it's the content isn't just sitting there the whole time and having me stare at them. There's some different contemplative exercises that the participants go through. There's mindful walking, which is a method of really slowly walking, at a snail's pace, which is so hard for people, just kind of back and forth in a straight line or in a circle as a group, and just being highly, highly aware. And this is training of our minds to go at that speed and being very aware of every sensation on the bottom of our feet as we take the steps that we take for granted every single day as we fly through life, with such ease, seemingly. So there's mindful eating. We sit down and we eat on the go so often, and or maybe just don't take the time to think about where the food is coming from and all the people that had a say or some sort of touch in the food getting to you on this beautiful presented plate of delicious tasting food. Sometimes we don't pause for a moment to kind of think about that. So these workshops and the retreat, this is just a time for us to sort of hone in on that a little as we enter back into our regular day-to-day lives, and being able to sort of think about that a little when we're out to dinner with our families, let's say, as we talk about mindful eating, to just maybe take literally a millisecond pause to say, wow, this food that I'm about to eat came from many places and many people had something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't mean to like nitpick on this, but so
sure.
Can you take notes? Can you write things down during the retreats? Or
on the retreat, the rules of thumb, and that's a great question, by the way.
I would come up with all sorts of ideas and then be like really frustrated that I couldn't keep them.
Totally. Well, and I've got some I want to share with you about that in a second, but the rules of thumb are no talking, no writing, no reading, and actually no eye contact. So those are rules of thumb, but you can do whatever really you want to do. But I know you're a big fan of Dan Sullivan, as am I. And I went through his 3-year program a number of years ago, and I learned the power of free days. And those are where you let your ideas flow and you do your best to restrict yourself from writing down all the amazing ideas that all of a sudden are coming to the forefront. And what ends up happening is when you get back into your focus days, then you can get the ideas that really matter at the forefront, because those are the ones that stick. So at least that's the way I learned it, and you might be a little bit closer to it because you've maybe gone through the program more. I think you're part of it right now. So, but that's how I remember it from years ago. Am I missing anything? Did I hit on it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
So you can imagine when you're on the retreat, boy, yeah, your mind is going to start flowing with some of the best ideas you ever had, or at least they'll seem like they're the best ideas you ever had in the moment. And the real practice that you're going to do is actually bring yourself back to your breath, to recognize that you're thinking, and come back to your breath and focus on the present moment, not so much about the amazing ideas that will take you and catapult you into the future. And when you're done with the retreat and you're driving back to whatever your next destination is, you're going to have sort of this mixture, I hear about and I've experienced sort of this mixture of calm and also kind of those top 2-3 ideas that kind of are sticking. And then you might find yourself, if you're driving, pulling over to the side and writing them down in your journal, or maybe that evening as you sit at dinner or prepare yourself for the evening or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Well, so the last question I always like to ask on these interviews is, what are your top 3 pieces of advice for people to be more effective?
Mm-hmm. Well, starting and or ending your day with a personal practice that helps you to show up and be the best person that you can be for yourself first, and for your team if you're a leader within an organization, or you're even part of a team that's within an organization, and just the people around you in general. So whatever that practice is, for me, it's meditating in the morning and in the evening, and there are many different ways that people go about that. So that's the first thing. The next thing that I find to be very effective, and I always recommend to people, is clearly set out your intentions for the day, how you want today to be great. Spend some time on gratitude, and spend some time on what tasks that you need to complete today to help move yourself and your organization towards your visions for the future. And so those are the things that I usually focus on when I'm sharing, these sorts of things with our team or people in the world that are curious about it.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Rob. So
thank you, Ari. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Well, tell people where they can find out more about you, the retreats, the book, everything.
Yep. The best place to find me is donothingbook.com. And everything you need there to contact me, be it social or right from the contact page, you can send a note right from there. And I will 100% answer every single request, whether it's through social or through the contact page. I love to interact and I love to answer your questions and help in any way that I can with any of the stuff that I'm doing with Do Nothing or within our culture here at Image One. So please feel free to reach out to me at any time.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you, Ari, and thank you for teaching me so much through your book and just through getting to know you, even just briefly as a person. You've taught me an awful lot, and I'm grateful for that.
Thanks for listening to the Less Doing podcast. If you'd like to get more done in less time, join our exclusive community of entrepreneurs and visionaries, the Less Doing Labs. It's free and just for you. Go to lessdoinglabs.com/more done.